So the loss of One World Trade, the North Tower, took out our FM station, but we still had our AM station. The antenna was in New Jersey. So we were able to keep people informed of what was happening through the AM station, and for the entire country, through National Public Radio, they cut to live coverage that morning, and we were providing the bulk of that live coverage from New York because we were the only reporters on the ground for them that morning. I think it was after 7 World Trade collapsed. It affected the Verizon lines, and we lost power in our own studios by City Hall. So we switched our operations to NPR's own offices in New York City, which at the time were on 43rd Street and 2nd Avenue. So we had to jerry-rig their small offices into a radio station. And then we were also having trouble simultaneously with the AM antenna. I'm forgetting what the whole story is, but we ended up sending a guy out there in the middle of the night with alligator clips, which is a way of like connecting the telephone to keep the radio signal going. And so for a few hours there, when you tuned in, it sort of sounded like it was you were listening on a telephone. But NPR drove a satellite truck up to help keep us on the air. We had a lot of technical challenges, but we did it. We had everybody working together from NPR and from WNYC to keep us going on both stations. It involved just 24 hours, reporters working around the clock to keep abreast of what was happening, because at that moment, it was not just what had happened, it was what's going to happen next. And the people looking for their family members at the hospitals, the whole updates on what caused the collapse of the Trade Center. People were having wild speculations, and, you know, in those first few hours, people were wondering what caused the buildings to collapse, because they didn't know at that time that such tall buildings could collapse because of the heat of the fires causing the steel to melt. And there was all this stuff in the air, and people were wondering, what's all the stuff in the air? Was it another attack? Did people, you know, pollute the air with something? And, you know, there were a lot of reassurances, which we later turned out were questionable about the quality of the air, because people still to this day are very concerned about their health. But there were a lot of concerns that something else had happened, or there was going to be another attack. People were terrified riding the subways and the buses. You know, is this going to turn into some war zone like Lebanon? Are we going to have just constant attacks going on? It was very, very scary. And then, you know, as you'll recall, weeks later, there were the anthrax envelopes. So it was a very fearful time, and we felt like anything could happen as reporters, and we just needed to be ready for anything.